Why Jacksonville? Why are you here?
Availability of the job. That was it. I hadn't been in the NFL since I was in Detroit with Jim Caldwell, and last couple of years I did the spring leagues, XFL, and then it became the UFL. And so when the new staff got put together here, I had worked with Anthony Campanile, and that was my in. He reached out and asked if I'd be interested in something like this, and of course I was, yes.
What was he like back on those Boston College?
Not much different in regards to like passion and, but the one thing I will say in the short time I've been back here, and I hope this doesn't sound trite, but his football IQ has skyrocketed since he was in Boston College. And when he was at Boston College, he was excellent. He was our DC. Then he went to Michigan, and I actually followed him as the DC at Boston College. But, he's had a chance to work with some of the best defensive coaches in our league. Brian Flores and Vic and even Jeff Hafley. These are excellent football coaches. And the one thing he has done is, and not surprising, is he has taken a ton of stuff in. He's got a very high IQ. Period. Anthony would do well at anything, but he has taken all that time around those coaches, those seasons, and his football acumen has just skyrocketed. And like I say, even in the short time I've been back here, I was like, this guy's got it all together, So it's exciting.
Are there moments where you have to remind yourself, like, man, Anthony's like an NFL DC now, or is it just so natural? Was it something you knew in 2018 that this was a possibility?
I'm not surprised at all. I mean, I could see Anthony being a head coach in the National Football League, Yeah. So, no, it's not surprising, but I'm excited for him.
What is your role here? How would you define your role?
That's a good question. The title is Senior Defensive Assistant, and I'll try to bullet point it like I'm the assistant to Anthony Perkins, who coaches our safeties. So daily on the field in position meetings, that's my role, which is fun. The other is, all of us will have like scouting report responsibilities once we get going in the fall, and I have them too. So that would be the same as the other coaches, different components of the game planning, different down and distances or field positions or, in this day and age, it's chopped up into so many different categories. And so I have my share, and I'll be responsible to do that. And other than that, I don't know if this is the definition of the role or what they expected me, but there's not 2 days that don't go by where I'm not visiting with Anthony and offering, you might want to think about this, or I think we should talk about this, or, that kind of stuff. And he's wide open and all ears, and some of the stuff he'll address the next morning, and other stuff he hasn't even addressed it yet because he's up to his ears doing stuff, getting ready for the next day of installation. You know what I mean? But and the role is kind of my take is it's kind of evolving, and I kind of wonder about it myself. Matter of fact, when we get done here, next week we got the mini camp, and then we're going to be done. Thank you. And I actually want to reach out to all the position coaches and ask them two things. And again, hopefully this doesn't sound too corny, but one, I want to know if there's anything I can help them with. I'm willing to do tasks, And then the other thing, I want to get feedback from them on how else they think I could contribute. That's the one thing I want to do. I want to contribute. I'll do anything. I will chase the footballs around on the field, and I'll do anything. I'm not above any of that stuff, but I know I can contribute in many areas. Strategy, technique. I try to get involved with player engagement. I spend time every day visiting with a player. The thing is, though, even during the season, we're going to have 25 plus defensive players, so you're hitting every kid up about once a month. But I offer to them to visit with me anytime. But it's just, and it's just morale. It's just, keeping the communication lines open and how's it going, and how's it going with your position coach and that kind of stuff. But Like I say, the role is kind of evolving, and I'm interested to see how it looks like once we get going into a regular 7-day season schedule. And I don't know, I'm rambling, but...
No, that's great.
Okay.
Since you mentioned safety room in particular, how would you evaluate how that room has been constructed? I know Antonio, when he was in college, played a lot in the slot. There was a notion when he was coming out of college, well, maybe does he contribute in that way? Darnell Savage signs here. He was told by the previous regime he was going to play more nickel. How would you evaluate the talent that's in that room and maybe what they can offer?
Yeah. That's. I wish I had. Or we do have a roster stuff because I don't want to fail to mention anybody that's worth talking about. But in a broad-based way, my take on it is like we have talent. I don't. After going through OTAs now, again I got one more week. I don't look at the room and think like, oh my God, we're up against it, or we need to get. We need to draft 5 new safeties, or I don't think like that at all. These guys have all played in the National Football League. Many guys have started dozens and games in the National Football League, and they're more than capable. Winning in the NFL, as you know, is brutally hard, right? Fanatically competitive, and the difference between winning and losing and making the playoffs or not making the playoffs, or made or missed field goals and all that kind of stuff. So I don't look at our personnel and think like, oh, geez, we're up against it. I don't think like that at all. And there are, all these guys that we have working out at safety right now, they all have something to offer. They have some things that are better than others. They're either bigger, faster, stronger, smarter, more instinctive, better pass coverage guys, better run support guys. And the other thing too, in answering your question is, we're in shorts right now. And really until we get into the preseason games, because even in the preseason when we have shoulder pads on, we're not trying to kill each other, we're not tackling. So it'll be interesting to see how guys evolve once we get into the preseason games. And nowadays you only got 3 of them. But, I think at least one of the teams we're going to go against nowadays, that you do the practices, And the same thing, those aren't tackling to the ground, but it's competitive and it's in shoulder pads and all that stuff. But but I don't know if I answered your question or not. Or
a lot of different things in the room.
Yeah.
A lot of different
And good guys and talent at different levels and different aspects of talent. Big tall guys and some guys are super quick and other guys super instinctive and high football IQ and some guys play for a while. Other guy, I got 2 rookie safeties. And I think they're great draft picks, and I think they could contribute for sure, and they show genetic makeup, and so again, I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah, that was great. That was awesome. Hey, Mia here, and thanks so much for watching 1010XL Jaguars. For even more coverage of the Big Cats, be sure to subscribe to 1010XL Jaguars.